Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Glad to have you with us tonight as we look ahead to the Europa League fixture. Quick thank you to anyone who's helped us grow the channel beyond 1,000 views. You're greatly appreciated. On behalf of everyone, we'd like to send you a big and massive thanks. We really do appreciate it. Looking ahead to the Europa League game against Club Brugge, it will be Manchester United taking on Club Brugge, the Belgian team, I believe, who haven't actually lost a game in the last 7, so they're in pretty good nick as well. 3 draws, 4 wins, and looking pretty solid in terms of momentum. But before we get to them, the word momentum gets thrown around a lot. How are you guys feeling about the momentum that we can build after this massive, massive Chelsea win?
Well, look, I think for me there's like different types of momentum. I think there's a league momentum and a cup momentum, but I think that Chelsea game will definitely give us a huge boost in confidence going into this game. And I think generally in Europa League, we've been pretty solid this entire competition. So, yeah, I'm hoping for a good performance from the lads.
Yeah,
makes sense.
I think I agree 100%. You can't beat Chelsea and put in a decent performance and then lose to Club Brugge. That'll be criminal. So I do think we'll build momentum in the next few weeks. I do think we'll see better results because I do think we have more numbers and we have Bruno Fernandes in the mix. So, yeah, I think we'll build some momentum.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's very interesting looking ahead to this game and how big it is for Manchester United. That Chelsea win coming off the back of it will no doubt help with the confidence. But I agree that there's 2 different types of form. There's cup form and there's league form. And a lot of people in the past have said, a few pundits actually, have said that form kind of goes out the window in cup games. And I kind of agree because the climate is very different, number one. Number two, you're playing against teams that aren't in the competition you're struggling in. So if you're struggling in the league, the teams that you're playing against in the Europa League or the Champions League, they're not preying on that. They don't really care what's happening in the league. It's a separate competition entirely. And so for me, that makes the form different. I don't know if you guys agree with that. But,
yeah, I do agree.
Yeah, like Club Brugge is not going to be looking at Manchester United thinking, oh, we can beat them because they couldn't hold the ball against Chelsea. It's not going to happen,
Yeah, definitely.
So there is a bit of an advantage.
And
Unlike
the fact that
yeah,
clubs from the Europa League tend to be a bit weaker, and I feel like it's a mental thing from United as well. A different competition, a different environment. There's no baggage of the league, so you do tend to perform better.
yeah, and also the quality of team is just not the same. We're not playing Spurs, City, Chelsea, Wolves, Sheffield United. Difficult teams that play with a lot of pace, physicality, and width week in, week out. We're playing against other teams that are also struggling in their respective leagues for the most part. Club Brugge, though, I'm not sure what place they are in their league, but their last few games have gone their way and they've been in pretty good nick. So whether or not that will translate into the Europa League against United, we'll just have to wait and see. But they're not mugs, Club Brugge can play football. Exhibit A, they're in the knockout stages of Europa League. So we shouldn't think this is going to be a walk in the park by any means, but I do expect us to win. I really do.
Yeah. And our team come from the Champions League. Like, before we go, that baffles me how we got a team from the Champions League. We won our group. But anyway. And even in the group stages, maybe they were not good enough to qualify, but like they hold their own against teams like Real Madrid. So that counts for something.
Yeah, they are from the Champions League, actually. So they're not a team that's originally from the Europa League. That says it all, really. They qualify for the Champions League, and I know their league is probably not as competitive as the Premier League. It's not as impressive to qualify for the Champions League in Belgium, is what I'm saying to a lot of people. But they're still in the competition, nevertheless. And if I'm not mistaken, they did draw at the Bernabeu, right?
I think so.
I think they did
I'm not sure.
They drew at the Bernabeu and then they got beaten in their own backyard by Madrid, and then they lost to PSG, and then they didn't lose to Galatasaray or the other team that was in their group. They didn't lose to that team. I'm pretty certain of that. So again, they can play football, and I think when you're in a group as difficult as they were in, it's inevitable that you will drop down.
Unfortunate.
What are you guys' confidence levels going into this game?
I'm pretty confident. I think United will definitely win this game, even though we are away. I have a different vibe in Europa League compared to League. Like I think Malota said, I don't even carry baggage out really that much, and I think certain players will play as well in the team in Europa League. So yeah, I'm looking for a good performance.
Yeah, some more rested players.
Look, I think we'll win, but I've just lost the word definitely in my United vocabulary because you just never know with this team. But everything just looks right for us to win. I mean, our players are fresh. If we could do that against Chelsea, why can't we do it against Club Brugge? Like, it just wouldn't make sense for us to lose this game.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully Percy Tau doesn't want us. Let's look at the expected or the predicted XI then. Let's have a look at it. Interesting, back four. First off, I want to ask, back three, how do we feel about that formation, and is it something that can work temporarily considering how short-staffed Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is?
I think it will work, but I feel like Oli will only bring it out like against very good teams. I feel like when we play mediocre teams, so to speak, I think he'll go back with his back four.
You know, this is going to sound very erratic because I was the one supporting the system after Liverpool. But no, I don't want to see it, to be honest, because I feel like a team that's more prolific than Chelsea would have beat us. And eventually we scored, that was good, but we weren't consistent enough about how we were attacking. And I think that's down to the system suffocating the attack. So honestly, I'd like to see a 4 from now on consistently.
Even with the players we have, with the injuries?
Even,
for me, yes. Yeah, for me also, yes.
So what happens if Greenwood gets injured then?
I mean, we still got a James, we got a Pereira. I would still stick to it personally.
So you'd actually go with Pereira and Lingard down the right-hand side?
And Amata, and we also have Amata as well, so yeah, I would stick with it.
Interesting.
The thing is, I just don't think the three is better as well. Even in that situation, I don't think the 3 makes us any better with those trying to cater for those injuries.
It's a very valid point, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't think. Personally, I think we'll
sit back and counter with the 4 at the back. You can do that.
It's not about sitting back and countering. It's not about being defensive. It's not about that. You know, people look at the 3 at the back formation or 5 at the back, whatever you want to call it, and they immediately assume it's very defensive. Well, Manchester United is going to play defensively anyways. Like, Manchester United plays with 2 holding midfielders regardless of the formation. So I think saying it's too defensive is irrelevant because we're going to play defensive anyways. We're going to try hit them on the counter anyways. I think the relevant points are what happens going forward. And yes, I agree that the back 5 does suffocate the potential going forward, because I've said I don't like the back 5 because you're removing an attacker. But if it's Lingard, Pereira, or Dan James or Form, I really don't see the difference. And I don't agree with throwing Greenwood under the bus just to play a system that needs squad depth at the moment. And also, what I would also add is I don't fancy, and I know you guys don't mind Martial on the left-hand side, but I don't fancy flip-flopping players between positions. I think Anthony Martial is committed to the number 9 position, and that's where he should play. You can't just move him to the side because Odion Igalo's here and expect Odion Igalo to hit the ground running in an important competition like the Europa League. That's my opinion. I just don't see Odion Igalo hitting the ground running, Greenwood playing the right wing role very well, any better than Lingard and Pereira will. Because Lingard's not a right winger, he's a centre forward. And I don't see Martial magically becoming better on the left wing because he hasn't played there in nearly 8 months. He hasn't played there. Martial's not a magician. He's not just going to go to a position he hasn't played in 8 months and then be comfortable. And on top of that, Igalo is still new to the team. So, you know, I think there's a lot of risks involved with this formation at the moment with the current team that we have. If Rashford was here, I'd be saying let's play a back 4 any day of the week.
Yeah, but I think it's something you work on. I think Martial can eventually become customer of the left wing again. I think maybe Greenwood can play a couple of games, but Igalo can fit in there. I just think the back 3 and that formation might just make us even worse. We're trying to cater injuries, but it's making us worse in the process.
I disagree. We beat Chelsea 2-0. There's your evidence. I disagree. If we had lost to Chelsea, I'd be agreeing with you 100%, but we didn't. We won. If Chelsea deserved to score 3 goals, then Manchester United deserved to be 4-0 up. Bruno Fernandes didn't deserve to hit the post. It should have gone in. If we played against a more clinical side on Thursday evening, well, that's a very silly point to make, because what if Chelsea were playing against a more clinical side? They would have lost 4-0.
No, fine. There's no substance to the argument, but I'm just looking at the technical side of it and analyzing and
I can easily see where you're coming from, but the problem I have with this predicted XI is you have 2 players who are playing out of position in Mason Greenwood and Anthony Martial. And then on top of that, the guy who's playing down the middle hasn't actually played football for this team. He had 1 shot on target against Chelsea in the 91st minute after they dropped their heads and when they're 2-0 down. It's not a true reflection of how good he's going to be going forward. And it's the Europa League. You know, it's not the FA Cup. It's not a league game against Sheffield United. It's the Europa League. It's a competition that United realistically have a chance of winning. And now you're going to go switch formations. For what? I just don't get it. You know, if we had played a back 4 against Chelsea and then played the back 4 into this game, then I totally agree with that. But my problem with the back 5, other than the fact that I thought it was too defensive, my biggest pet peeve with the back 5 was, can we pick a formation and stick by it? Can we stop this thing of improvising and switching between formations? That's my problem. And when you doing it in an important game against a good side away from home in a competition that we could win and could put us in the Champions League, I don't see where the logic is in that. And also, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did that, I would be shocked, because he doesn't strike me as the guy who takes risks. He strikes me as the guy who tries to be defensive. So I think he will possibly play a back 5, but I would be shocked if he played a back 4 with this specific lineup.
I think personally, I might be wrong, but I think he will play a 4. I think he played a 5 specifically for Chelsea. And why I would support this is because as much as we're chopping and changing, I feel like we're more on the side of the 4. We perform better on the 4 than we do on the 5.
Not with Greenwood and Martial playing left or right wing. We don't.
Maybe at the moment because I haven't played there. But, you know, ultimately I want Greenwood playing striker, yes. But players play out of positions from time to time. Like Sterling can play on the right sometimes just to make up for a situation at Man City. I think
okay. Well, hold on. But Sterling is Sterling and Mason Greenwood. Are we seriously comparing them playing out of positions now?
No. And okay, yes, I am. And the reason I'm doing that because I think Mason Greenwood is pretty good on the right. That's the only reason I'm doing that.
You think so? You think this guy's actually good on the right?
I do. Well. I really, really do.
I think all of his nothing games this season have come from when he hasn't been playing in the centre forward position.
No,
bar when he
a couple
was
of games
at the front and the back.
And a couple of goals. More so at the start of the season, maybe not recently, but I've seen a couple of games.
I'm talking about recently. I'm not talking about last year. I'm talking about recently.
Actually, I haven't seen much, but we haven't seen much of him playing there anyway recently.
Yeah, well, I saw him in the Wolves game playing off the right, and he had a nothing game against Wolves. I saw him play. When else did I see him play? I'm pretty sure the last time he played in the back 5, and he was playing striker, and he got taken off at half time because he was so atrocious. But the point is, right, you're saying because this guy played well in right wing last year, you're going to ignore his form over the last few weeks in the number 9 position and move him out to the right wing in a game against Club Brugge. And then put Igalo down the middle, and then still put someone who's also off form on the left out of position. And then you're comparing that to Sterling. I don't get the logic.
No, listen, it's going to be really fun because if I'm being honest, I've always wondered, is Mason good on the right wing? And that's just me. I could be way off. But I have thought sometimes that when you play striker, he does tend to seem a bit isolated.
I'm not arguing what position Mason Greenwood plays best in. I'm arguing, based on the last few weeks, how it makes sense to move 2 players who've been off form into positions they haven't played in, and then on top of that, put a guy who just got to the club in the number 9 position in a cup game, a big cup game, not the FA Cup, not the Carabao Cup, a big cup game. That's what I'm arguing. How does that make sense versus just playing the formation you played against Chelsea that worked and you 2-0? Yeah.
You might disagree, but for me, it's because I think the splitting strikers playing in the 5 just don't work.
You'd be wrong because we beat Chelsea 2-0.
Yeah, but you could
I hate to
analyze
bust
it.
your bubble, but we beat Chelsea 2-0. So you'd be wrong in saying
Yes.
that. It's your opinion,
that's why I said that's what I think, and that's why I said I'm making a tactical risk analysis.
No, I get you.
At the end of the day, it is down to my opinion.
No, I'm not disagreeing with your opinion. If you think a back three it works, right? If you think a back four, works, and a back four is going to win us this game against Club Brugge, that is your opinion, and you're entitled to that opinion, and anyone listening to this is entitled to their opinion. But to say a back five with two striker split doesn't work is false because we beat Chelsea. Before that, you could have said that because it never worked up until then. We used it against Sheffield United, it failed. And the only reason we drew with Sheffield United is because we changed formation. We used it against Liverpool, it failed.
Let me change my language then. I think it's not productive enough in attack. And that's why
that's fair. I was just trying to understand your logic. My question was, where's the sense in doing that? And you've just explained it. My question was not, why are you believing in this philosophy? I understand why you like the back four. I understand why most United fans like the back four. I didn't even like a back five, but I can recognize and give credit where it's due. And the point is, we did beat Chelsea 2-0. We did. Aaron Wan-Bissaka got a cross. Martial was on the end of that header. That was directly because of a back five and because of the way Aaron Wan-Bissaka was running up and down the flanks. And you could argue that he does that in a back four anyways. But I feel because there was no right wing, that entire channel was open for him. And on top of that, I don't feel like with the back three, with the back four, I don't feel like Aaron Wan-Bissaka going forward is as productive because it's so awkward between him and James. James just doesn't know where to run when Aaron Wan-Bissaka's on the far side there. So really bad. Yeah, James is really bad at right wing, and I think a lot of players in this team are. So is Pereira, so is Lingard. Mata is slow, and the Europa League might suit him against Club Brugge, so maybe Mata is a good choice for the right wing. And if Mata played in this formation, Martial was still in the middle, and we played someone else on left wing, I would be okay with it. But I'm not okay with playing two out-of-form players out of position and then putting Ighalo in the middle in a cup game. Is it round of 30? Yeah, it's round of 32 cup game. I'm not okay with that because I think it's such a huge risk. It's such a huge risk.
I honestly think Ollie's going to do it. I think Ollie's going to do this. I feel like he wants to give Ighalo a game. I think Ollie will feel this could be the game to possibly give him a run. Maybe get into the team.
I think
Greenwood. Yeah, you could say Mata. But then I think also Greenwood will also definitely play because he does like playing Greenwood in these Europa League games.
I think Greenwood will play, but you'll probably play him as a striker in this formation.
So yeah, Greenwood could go up, I think, to centre forward if he had to play this, and then Mata could go right.
Yeah, I hope he does because I don't agree with just throwing Ighalo under the bus. His debut is a cup game against Club Brugge. Wow,
but if he did do it, then I would think the logic is that he thinks Ighalo is ready and he thinks that there's a second leg to this game. Yeah, maybe that's not the smartest thing to do, but that would probably be his logic.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has proven many times in the past that he ain't a risk taker. He likes to play things safe, and he's flirted with the idea of starting Ighalo, but never actually admitted to it. And he only brought him on in the 90th minute against Chelsea when we were 2-0 up. So for me, that goes to show what kind of manager he is. And Ighalo isn't Bruno Fernandes. The reason why Bruno Fernandes got into that team so easily is because of how bad we were in the midfield. Whereas Ighalo, no disrespect to Ighalo, but he was playing in China. And because of the coronavirus, the league got stopped. And he hasn't actually played first-team football in a long time. He's fit, but he hasn't actually played minutes in a game for a long time, up until when he came on at the end in that Chelsea game. And I would be very, very disappointed if we lost to Club Brugge and didn't score any goals because Ighalo was thrown in the deep end. And we decided to move Martial on the left wing, where he hasn't played in 8 months, by the way. And on top of that, put Mason Greenwood, a youngster who's been inconsistent and has struggled in the last 3 games that we've seen him. I don't know. But it's just my opinion. We'll just have to wait and see if it pays off. I did want to ask you guys your opinion on the Paul Pogba situation, not about whether or not he's leaving in the summer. We already know that he's going in the summer, but do you guys want to see Paul Pogba wearing a red shirt again between now and the summer? Or are you over the whole Pogba saga?
I'll never be over it. I'm Paul Pogba FC. I want to see, if I had it my way, I'd want to see Paul Pogba in a red shirt till he retires. He's the best player at United. Like that's my opinion, and I honestly do believe it. I don't think there's anyone who really comes close to Paul Pogba. So if it was my way, I'd have him retire in a red shirt. And I do hope we see Paul Pogba back in a red shirt.
That's interesting.
Yeah, yes, I agree. Yes, because he makes us better. And if we're better, we have a better chance of making top 4 and winning the Europa League. So definitely.
That's interesting. Get down in the comments down below. Let us know what you think of the Pogba situation and Mino Raiola coming out and speaking on behalf of Paul Pogba. If you didn't hear, Mino Raiola basically came out and told Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to mind his business and focus on other things, and said that Pogba isn't a prisoner and he's allowed to make up his own mind about where he wants to go. So, take that with a pinch of salt. Make of it whatever you want. I think the Pogba debate is it's an interesting one. I think a lot of people say he does make us better, which he does. I don't think you can deny that, but I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of over it, to be honest. As much as I want United to win games and stuff, I don't want to watch a player who doesn't want to be at the club play for our team, to be honest with you. And I like Paul Pogba. I think he's a fantastic player, but the fact that he's been out for so long, I can't be biased towards him just because it's Paul Pogba. I've always had a thing against injury players. If a player has injury problems and they don't want to be at a club, I don't see why, as a manager, you'd play them or you'd be so enthusiastic about getting them back into the club, especially because we've got Bruno Fernandes now. I don't think he desperately needs to come back. I'd rather McTominay came back and McTominay, Fred, Bruno played than to have Paul Pogba who's leaving anyways in the summer.
True. But I feel like a midfield of McTominay, Pogba, and Fred and Bruno Fernandes gives us a really, really, really good chance of making top 4. And I'll take that any day.
It probably does.
Because
it probably does.
Such a good player. If it was another player, I'd agree with you. But because it's Pogba,
I think Bruno Fernandes with McTominay and Fred is just as good. I really do. For one, Bruno Fernandes isn't in the recovery ward. So,
So honestly,
I really
100%.
Well,
I think
it's not fan opinion.
I think Pogba is a world-class talent. He might not be consistent, but he can make things happen out of nothing. And we lack in the in terms of being productive in attack. With Pogba, we are 1,000 times better. So I do think we're much, much better with Pogba in the midfield than with just Fred and McTominay.
And Fernandes.
Yeah. Because I would love to see Pogba and Bruno together in the same team. Yeah, that would be something else.
It probably would, but for what? For 3 months?
Yeah, well, I would still use him. He's still a United player.
If Pogba was here right now for the game against Brugge, I would use him 100%. But if he's going to be out for another 2 months and he's only going to be back in April, forget him. Really, forget him. I would leave him out, especially if we're playing well. And if McTominay's back, if Fred is back, and if Bruno Fernandes is in good nick, forget him. Just play without him. Honestly, I think I don't see...
If we're playing really well...
Yeah, well, look, if I was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and I was still in the Europa League in April and I was still in a top 4 battle in April and Bruno Fernandes was still fit and he was playing well and Scott McTominay and Fred were lighting it up as they were before Scott got injured, and then Pogba suddenly healed, I wouldn't just bring him back into the team expecting him to be at the level he was before he got injured. Because firstly, I think that's a little bit naive, even for Pogba. He's been out for so long. This guy has not touched the football pitch and he's going to need a few games to get better, number one. Number two, he doesn't want to be at the club. So, I don't think any player should be bigger than Manchester United or bigger than any team for that matter. And unless we're in a really bad place and bringing Pogba back would be the solution, I really wouldn't bring him back. I don't want a player playing in a team that he doesn't want to play in, because that's just toxic. It really is.
I get you, but it happens a lot. And what I respect about Pogba, he hasn't come out and said, I want to leave and rebel from maybe training like some players have done. Lukaku did that. He forced the move out.
Sanchez did it as well.
he's going through his agent because Pogba is respectful, and Pogba loves Manchester United. Maybe he thinks that it's not good for his career anymore, but he does love this club. So I think he's a professional, and because I think he's worth giving a shot till the end of the season.
I 100% agree as well.
It is about fan opinion. You know, if you're Pogba FC, you're on their side. If you're 100%. United FC, you're on my side.
Pogba FC till I die.
Yeah, but no, I'm not on the Pogba train. I don't live up a player's ass because of something they did 6 months ago. You know, if you haven't been involved in the team for 6 months, and while you're on the sidelines, it's come out that you want to leave. And yes, it's not Pogba directly saying he wants to leave, but his agent speaks for him. Like, that's what an agent does. An agent negotiates deals and does what's best for your career. So if an agent says, hey, we're thinking about going to Juventus, that means the both of you. Like, Mino Raiola's not going to Juventus. Pogba is going to Juventus because Mino Raiola is trying to negotiate that deal, and he's flirting with the idea. And it's nothing personal against Pogba. I wish him all the best wherever he goes. I just think that any player who wants... I think firstly we should have sold him in the summer to begin with because he wanted to leave. But on top of that, I really don't like the idea of a player being bigger than the club. And that goes for managers as well. Jose. But I won't change my opinion just because it's Paul Pogba. I won't change my opinion just because it's Rashford. I won't change my opinion because it's Martial. And anyone who knows me personally knows that I actually like Pogba. So this ain't a Pogba agenda, and I ain't calling Pogba trash or rubbish or anything like that. And I ain't getting mad at Pogba because he was on a treadmill in Dubai. Like, I'm not that kind of fan. I'm a rational human being. But I am very passionate about a club, and I think certain principles are important. And I think playing for the badge has to come back in football. And as much as Pogba's a professional, if he wants to go, he must go. You know, he must go. He must go. And the club must let him go, more importantly.
Yeah. That's why I'm also on Pogba's side, because I don't blame him. The club should have dealt with
it. He's talking to Mino Raiola like this because he knows United won't sell him. So he's trying his best to be respectful, but also trying to push a move.
He's trying to do what Ronaldo did as well. Ronaldo did the same thing when he wanted to leave.
Yeah,
pretty much.
And I feel like the Euros coming up will play in our favor because he wants to play in the French squad, so he will perform.
Yeah, and I think he will definitely play.
We'll just have to wait and see. But do let us know in the comments down below what your opinions are. Anyways, before we wrap it up, score predictions against Club Brugge for the first leg.
I think defensively we're very solid. Whether it's a back five, back four, I think we're solid. Attacking wise, I think that's where it all ends up being about. So if it's a good attacking there, I think United should win 3-0.
Where's the game? Is it at Brugge?
Yeah, it's at Brugge.
Okay, 1-0 United.
Interesting. You think we'll get a clean sheet against Club Brugge?
Yeah.
I hope so. Unless, boy, I must give a shout out to Percy Tau, local boy here from South Africa. You know how we did.
Percy
Tau. Unless he comes and wins us, it's just one of those things, ain't it?
At that time, we don't even know if he's on the team sheet, but you got to show love to your homeboys.
Our homeboys, one of us.
One of the main men.
Well,
most probably will be in the team sheet.
I think games are won and lost in the midfield. I think if you give Martial a chance, or more than one chance at least, he will score at least one of them. So as far as I'm concerned, I think as long as Fred, Bruno Fernandes, and whoever else is playing next to them, probably Matic, as long as they have a good game, and as long as we don't make any stupid mistakes at the back, I think this should be business as usual for Manchester United.
I would hope so, but never say never.
Never say never, but it is the Europa League. If Arsenal can make a Europa League final with their eyes closed, then United can. Trust me, United can. Plus, we won this competition when everybody thought we were rubbish. So there you go. There's no excuses for United. There's no excuses in the Europa League. I like the Europa League, not as much as the Champions League, obviously, but I ain't gonna kiss ass. The Europa League is it's the second division. It's the second tier of European football, and there's a reason why there's teams that play there's a reason why the Europa League is filled with the teams that it's filled with. It's teams that aren't good enough. to make it into the Champions League. Manchester United should beat Club Brugge. No exceptions. And if Oli loses this game because of a few reckless decisions, I'm going to be fuming. That's all I'll say. But let us know what you think in the comments down below, your score predictions, the Pogba debate, and whether or not you think the Chelsea game will aid us in moving forward in this competition. Until then, I think that's a wrap, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.